What's a good word, everyone? I'm Kenny Byron, the owner of SportsBooks.com. He always does that, but okay. I'm Kenny Byron, the owner of SportsBooks.com. Welcome to the show. We're going to talk about the Big 12 today. It's not my favorite conference, but what was very intriguing that I saw to begin with was Kansas State, and the reason was I came across information showing that they were favored in every single game. Yet their win total, and we're going to use the win totals from Bet Online. I know you should have better, you should have more books, not better. They're just different books to get the best of the number. But they're under 9.5 in the 12-game season, and that's juiced to minus 140. That was the thing that really intrigued me. So I really wanted to look into them, which forced me to do the Big 12. Don't worry, we did some of the good teams, and we also did Colorado. So we'll go through that right now. Kansas State to begin with. They're favored. When I look at their schedule, look at those point spreads. They're right there. -4 at West Virginia, -7 at Oklahoma State, -1 at Iowa State. Later we're going to do Iowa State. I didn't really want to do, but I really wanted to do one of the teams that's at the end of the year that's really close to Kansas State. So let's start with the coach, Kleiman. Kleiman. Some people don't like him. Some people do. Some say conservative. I know, as a Montana Grizzly fan, how good he was at North Dakota State, winning national titles. Now, was that because they just had more? They just had a better recruiting, maybe. But he's done a good job here at K State, and what can you say? They believe in their quarterback, Avery Johnson. The skill talent is there. The offensive lineman, the offensive line will tell all. They got 4 guys that have all played 2+ years, and we all know Kansas State's tough defense. The defense is always going to be there for them. They have the skill position around them. Will they be too conservative to win 10 games? I guess that lies in the question. Now you can get over 9.5 at +110 at Bet Online. Maybe you can get a 9 somewhere out there. Always be shopping. But for these videos we're breaking down, it's June 26th. Things can change, but we're going to break down where we are right now. And what we're going to do right now is go through their schedule. Tennessee Martin. Okay, that's good. They go to Tulane, which is tricky, but I believe I'm going to look more into Tulane. I know they lost Pratt, an NFL quarterback, an NFL drafted quarterback. But they kind of fell apart at the end. They quit. And what do I mean by quit? After they lost in their title game, everyone quit on the team. I don't like that coming into this season. So Kansas State at Tulane, I like there. Arizona. Now they're 5-point favorites over Arizona. They're Arizona's Arizona's one of the teams. Maybe the third team in here. I think Utah's by and far the best, but Kansas State is right there with the Arizonas of the world. And we're going to go over Arizona. So that's a primetime Friday game. Could be tough. They go to BYU, which we don't do in this video. But they will show up at BYU even if they're only lined at 4.5 wins. They're still gonna show up, but they will be a 2-touchdown favorite there. Oklahoma State, number 19. This is what I kind of hate about this conference. You got all these teams. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams at 7.5 wins. Another team at 6.5. They got a lot of average teams, which can step up at a time or step down at a time. So, the highest ranked team. The highest ranked team they play is Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, Arizona, and Kansas is number 22. So that's part of the reason that they're at this level of being, favored in every game. We come down, and then after Oklahoma State, so they go to BYU, and then Oklahoma State, and then they're off, and then at Colorado. And I see people saying this as a slip-up game, but I also see them as a 10-point favorite. So we go into depth about Colorado later. Um, and I'm not a big fan of what's going on there. And the further the season gets in, the more I expect injuries on Colorado. But we'll get in that more later. So I think that's a pretty good spot for Kansas State to win. And what I like about Colorado, a team that I don't think is that good, you're still going to get up for them because of Prime. So I don't never look for a letdown when a team plays Colorado. Then I look at West Virginia. They go to West Virginia, and they're a middling team. If can't, I mean, and they're a middling team, and they're only a 4-point dog. So as I go through these numbers, I think these numbers could really change a lot. So even though right now they're favored in every game, I don't know if that'll be the case when it's all said and done. Then they come home and play Kansas, another intriguing team after I started looking into them. But they play them at home. They'll be about a touchdown favorite. And of course they'll be up for that game. At Houston, who's supposed to be down this year, and I want to look more into Houston because their win total is at 4. I don't do them in this video because I just want to do, I want to can't do all 16 and do a good job on all 16. We're going to the SEC next where we could do a lot more teams, but so then they're off, and then they got Arizona State, Cincinnati at home. Don't think that'll be a problem. And then, but look at Arizona State. Arizona State 4.5 wins, -160. Cincy 5.5 wins. Not great teams. They go to Iowa State, which will be it will be a slobber knocker. This is a team that's usually known for defense, and we'll see how injuries play off. So when I look at 9.5, I see the books telling us they're favored in every game. But don't look for them to go undefeated. Don't look for them to win 10 games. So, I would have to go towards the under, but I think you could get a 9 where this team probably won't lose 4 games. I mean, if they lose 4 and you're at... I think there might be a tad of value on maybe an 8, if you get an 8.5. But it's not a team that I'm really looking to bet the win total on. It's just really intriguing, and I just love bringing information. Then we go to Utah, by far the best team in this conference. Over 9.5, but in a real way, -150. They might be 10 at some places. This Utah team. I think it's where do we even start? We start with the coach, best coach in the country, and everyone knows it. I mean, to win as much as they did last year, playing the game of Cam Rising, who is he going to be back this week? No. It reminded me of Quantum Leap. Always hoping that the next leap is the leap home. Always hoping that the next week is the week Cam Rising comes back. From week 4 all the way to the end of the season, no Cam Rising. And they still were okay, and they had less than adequate quarterback play. With him back, and his tight end, the number 1 tight end. So you even took that away from, which could have been a big time security for last year's quarterback. He's gone. Yeah. I should write so I can read what I write, because this takes into what I really think. So they had 169 yards passing a game. In college football, they threw for 166 yards a game and won. That shows how solid their defense was. Obviously, they're going to have a better passing game. We all know that. And they've never been predicated on their offense. And this is a team that rarely, even when struggling with having injuries, like they had a defense that was even injured last year, and they only let up 19 points a game. And they still win at home. Still win a lot at home. So despite all the injuries, they let up 19 points a game. This team is back. If Cam Rising stays healthy, this team could definitely... I mean, this is a playoff. I'm going to predict that. I'll say it right now. You can take it to the bank. Will Utah make the playoffs? Yes. They got to win this conference. Do I think they're going to win this conference? They're going to be top 2? So they can slip up and still play in the championship game? Yeah, they're going. And let's look at their schedule. Southern Utah. Southern Utah, are they still in the Big Sky? I'm not exactly sure. I should know that. But I know they're not an FCS playoff team. No problem. People like to overlook this type of stuff and say, oh, who cares? They're FCS. No. FCS are not all created equal, and Colorado will find that out, but we'll get to them later. Southern Utah. Then they got Baylor. Baylor, a 5.5 team. When I see these 5.5s and 6 and 7s, they're all teeter-totter teams that could go either way. A Baylor in Utah, no, not happening. At Utah State, it might be Utah State's Super Bowl, but I don't mind. Um, could it be a look-ahead game spot? How focused will Utah be on Utah State when they got to go to Oklahoma State and then Arizona? That's what's going to be the key to everything, right there. But they're over 9.5, and I'm trying to find. Can you find two losses on the schedule? I think they're more talented. They're better than Oklahoma State and Arizona. Oklahoma State can play well at home, so that of course isn't going to be easy. Arizona, another team, not going to be easy, but it might be for them when they get things rolling, the way they match up. Then they're off, and then they're at Arizona State. Every once in a while they do seem to overlook people, but not often with this coach. They come home for TCU and go to Houston before they're off again. I like their chances of winning there. BYU comes in, yes, it's a rival game, but Utah at home, They go to Colorado, well, where, in my opinion, like Florida, without the schedule, Colorado will be beat up. The chances of Travis Henry playing, if he's playing both ways, we'll talk about that more later with Colorado. At Colorado, I think Utah will roll them. And if Colorado surprises, then maybe have a dogfight. Iowa State comes in, and you're not going to overlook Colorado for Iowa State, even though Iowa State might be a bigger game. And they finish at UCF, which can be tricky. So, do I see three losses for this team? No, no, no. I see this team going to the playoffs. Um, with how much these teams are going to beat up each other, one loss, two loss, they might still be able to make the championship game. So my best bet would be that they're going to win the Big 12 or go to the playoffs, whatever you get better odds for. And that's the thing, when you look for stuff like, if there's a bet you find out there that says they're going to go to the playoffs, or there's a bet they're going to win the conference, just take whatever the better odds are, because I don't think two teams are probably not coming out of this league for a title shot unless Kansas State goes undefeated because they avoid Utah. But if they avoid Utah, then lose to Utah, chances are they still won't make it. They'll be in the Georgia category from last year. So let's move on to Arizona. Don't worry, Colorado's on deck. So Arizona, minus 130, under 7.5. Under 7.5 for a team that's in the top 20. Some have them even in the top 15. Minus 130, plus 100 at over 7.5. So really, you got to look at the schedule. But really, which I think, yeah, we'll get to the schedule in a minute. But they do have a new coaching staff with Brent Brennan, brought in my main man Dino Babers. I don't think they're very solid at quarterback. I mean, let me take that back. 25 touchdowns, 600 interceptions is pretty good. 72% completion rating. So maybe I was in the camp of, I saw a couple games where he struggled more than, that can happen to people. They watch a team play once or twice and they make a conclusion off of that. I might have done that with this guy. So I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's outstanding. But it's a good start for Arizona. They got four returning regular. I don't want to say starting, but the regular offensive line that's in the rotation. They got four returning. The problem is they lost their best offensive lineman to the NFL. So that's not the type of thing that Arizona can just replace, like a Georgia can replace, like an Alabama can replace. So there is that. Three defensive linemen left, so the defense is definitely going to be a question mark. Now, as I look deeper into Arizona, we're looking at win totals now. this could be an over team if their coaching staffs get the offense going. Their defense might be a little bit of a sieve. So let's look at their schedule. August 31st, New Mexico. We're going to look at New Mexico and see how if they're improving. But then after that, Northern Arizona. Now I know this Big Sky school is average at best. They're not a top 25 FCS school, which you got to look into that stuff, as you'll see with Colorado. So that shouldn't be a problem. I mean, Northern Arizona has surprised in the past, but they're not top 25. They're not going to be a playoff team in the Big Sky. So you got a shot to get, maybe your defense going a little bit and your offense hitting on all cylinders with a nice 2 games, because you got 2 road games that are monsters. At Kansas State, then you're off, and then at Utah. That's a tough road to hold. If you even split that, you're rocking and rolling in the Carrier Dome without question if you're Arizona. I don't think they have a shot at going to Utah and winning, even though this is a pretty good football team. It's just my opinion on Utah, who is ranked 9th in the country. It might be a tad high, but this is a Utah. Utah's good. But Arizona, they're the up and coming team. They're the team that won their last 7 games, and they were solid, and their quarterback came through. So then you look and you got Texas Tech comes in, and that's the thing. These teams like Texas Tech coming in, Colorado, West Virginia, they're not all like wins. They're like with Georgia you can say win, 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 even if the team's ranked higher that they play. Arizona has to fight for all these games, and that's why I think that the under 7.5 is the juiced part. So you got Kansas State and Utah, which I think will be 2 losses. After Texas Tech and after Texas Tech, which could be a melee, they go to BYU. I don't care that their win total is 4.5. BYU will have a home field advantage. It's not like the Dome in Syracuse where 12,000 people come in a 50,000 seat dome when they're just okay or not that good. BYU comes, just like the SEC. Doesn't matter, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, whatever. They come. This is the same. BYU will come all year to support their team, and if stuff goes wrong in the first, second quarter, who knows what can happen. They come home to play a Colorado team who could have a scintillating offense, a great offense, and end up in a 95-94 game. Then West Virginia comes in, another average team that they're not distinctly better than. That's what I don't like about these type of win totals. But I wanted to talk about Arizona. At UCF, could lose. Then they're off. Then Houston, who's not that good, who's not perceived to be that good yet, at TCU, and then home for Arizona State. So I could go back and forth all day long about this team, but what I've learned most about Arizona doing this research is as of June 26th, I look at them as an over team. Now let's get to everybody's favorite Big 12 team. Hate them, love them. When I think of prime time, because I follow the FCS also and know how good the Montana Grizzlies are, and I see Jackson State, it was a perfect place for prime to go. Why? They never have to play anyone good. And they get a Florida State guy coming in, and they're just more talented than everybody they played. Why? They're not playing Montana. They're not playing anyone from the West. They're playing in the SWAC, MEAC, and then they play in a fake championship game for teams that historically got blown out of the playoffs when it was a 16-team playoffs. They say, we don't want any more of that. Screw that. We'll call ourselves a championship game, not challenge ourselves, and then he still loses in the championship game. Of course they're going to make the championship game. So at Jackson State, he helped kids. Yes, I'll agree with the help kids part. But in terms of actually being a coach, he looks cool on the sideline with blades at night. I love it. But anyway, this is a team that let up 56 sacks. Was it all the offense line? Kinda. But quarterback Sanders, one of the most overrated players I've ever seen, he makes electric plays in the first couple of games against Nebraska against TCU to open the season. Oh my God, they beat an average TCU team, but they were in the playoffs the year before. So now Colorado's back. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. They're going to blow a 40-point lead. Is what they're going to do because their defense was the absolute bottom 10 defense, and that's why they were down last year. This year with that defense, they got 3 transfers that are 4 stars on the defensive line. It can only get better. Not that it's going to be good, but it can only get better. This is a team. Team. I did Syracuse. Look, Quinn Allen ran for over 1,000 yards. This is a team that ran for 827 yards. Now, granted, 56 sacks are counted, so it's a little, kind of skewed a little bit. But I don't. They didn't. From when I remember watching them play, they didn't even try to run the ball. I don't think they had the Gabe Cowboy comment of running the ball twice in a row. Just did not happen. So now with Schumer in there, maybe they'll balance themselves out. The one thing that I really don't like is the use of Travis Hunter. I think he could be a superstar on offense. He could be a superstar on defense. But you talk about, love for these kids, love it, love it. When you play a guy 116 games that can be a star on one side, and you play him offense and defense because you don't have enough good players yet, that hurts his NFL career. I don't care. It's like running the running back 30 times throughout his college career. He's going to have a short career in the NFL because he's been hit so much. Same with this guy. And of course, you put him on the field for 116 plays. Of course, he's going to get hurt sooner or later. Why? Because he plays hard. It's a compliment to Travis Hunter. He's a superstar. He led the team with 3 interceptions. Do you want him 3 interceptions, or do you want him? And what do you have? 700 yards receiving? Why do they have 1,500 yards? Sanders is so great. Let's go. Let's focus on one thing. So that's what I want to look more into. Is he going to play both ways most of the season? If so, I look for Colorado to be even more down. So if he plays one way, I could. By the way, with Colorado, the over 5.5 is -135. The under 5.5 is +105. With a number so low, and with defense that's going to be a little bit better. They got the tools on offense. Even if the offensive line is lacking, 5.5, it's a number that I don't want to, with the influx of talent, I don't want to mess with either way, really, because let's look at their schedule now. They open with North Dakota State. Is that a win? Maybe. Now, what I will say about North Dakota State is they have been the best team in FCS up until the last 2 years. Balance the transfer has gone to South Dakota State, winning the last 2 national titles. But North Dakota State was still in the Final Four last year. Lost to my Montana Grizzlies in an amazing overtime game, so they were that close to maybe winning a national title. This is a program that's used to winning. I can never say that enough for teams that people will overlook. In Appalachian State, we talked about it in an ACC video. In the Big 12 here, we're talking North Dakota State. You got a team in Colorado who's not used to winning, does not have the culture of winning yet. And North Dakota State, culture of winning, no doubt. They lost, 2 games last year? One to Montana, one to South Dakota State, who are they were the 2 best teams in FCS last year. So this is a team that's used to winning, playing a team that's not used to winning. A team that, in my opinion, because of coaching, is an arrogant team, and can look and see North Dakota State and go, whatever, they're FCS. I don't like that if you want to take a win total over. And they could come out there and bury them, which would be fine, which would be great for them because they got to go to Nebraska and Colorado State after that. And we'll look at Nebraska in the Big Ten, Colorado State. I can't say, there's not a game here that I can go, oh, they're going to win that. Like, really just say they're going to win that. Not one. No, North Dakota State. Now, do I think they might beat North Dakota State? Do I think they have a chance of being 3-0? They have a chance, but that at Nebraska, I don't think they'll win. At Colorado State, They could struggle there. It's a rivalry game, especially it's going to be a Super Bowl for Colorado State. They come home for Baylor, lined in the same area they are at 5.5. Uh, at UCF, won't be favored there. Then they're off, and then they have Kansas State coming in, and they'll be way up for that game. And they'll be way up for that game, and then they'll have to go to Arizona. They can take both of those or one of those. Then they come home for Cincinnati, and they're off, and they're at Texas Tech. They'll be home for Utah, which I think they'll have no shot in. And then they go to Kansas. Kansas is next. I got an interesting schedule and stuff for them. And then Oklahoma State. So it's like, where is your win? Now, I'm not saying they're going to go winless, of course, but where is the time that they're favored by so much? Where's their Where's their breather? Is it Colorado State? Do you think it's North Dakota State? I don't. So I could only go under. I mean, they're over 5.5 at -135, and I get it, but it's all in what I'm going to perceive going forward, seeing that's June 26th. How much is their talent upgraded, and will Travis Henry play both ways? Because if he does, then he's going to get hurt. So you can't. I mean, you can't predict injuries, but there's a chance 5 games through you could be going, oh, they were 3-2, and then Travis Henry got hurt, and they went down. Travis Hunter, sorry. I knew something was wrong there. Travis Hunter goes down, and then what? Oh, yeah, I would have won if this guy didn't play 116 plays a game like you knew he would. So it's probably a team I stay off of. Until further notice, they got to be an over team. They're going to let up 100 and maybe score 100. Kansas. I wasn't even going to do Kansas, but then I saw 30 seniors. Jalen Daniels, quarterback, must stay healthy. They got a 5-star offensive lineman that was out last year. That's going to be back this year. And the problem is their defense is more than lacking. So let's look at them. Under 8.5 is -165. Over 8.5 is +135. The first thing I do, well, let's go, yeah. The defensive line is just a huge question. The thing about this is don't always draw conclusions. So the defensive line, will it be okay? Well, here's the deal. If their defensive line struggles at the beginning, because they have upperclassmen playing in the defensive line, but they got two, which they think are great recruits coming in that might not start, but they might take over as starters as the season progresses, which could make that defensive line a little better as it goes along. So the crushes you might see in the first 5-6 games, they might not be getting gashed as much. You can't just go, oh, they're going to get gashed because they got gashed in the past. They might. Well, you have to watch to see if they rotate in. Those D linemen are playing better, and they might get a little better. But the weird thing about this is they play Lindenwood at Children's Park in Kansas City and Children's Park. They play UNLV. I mean, is that their home field? Because 4 times, 4 of their 6 home games, TCU, Houston, Iowa State, and Colorado all played at Arrowhead. I do not believe in home field advantages for big fields like that. I think you take the team off campus, you're going to lose an advantage. You might even get people go, oh, they're playing at Arrowhead. Let's go travel for that game. TCU might travel for that game. Iowa State might be like, oh, let's go to Arrowhead. We can't go to the Chiefs game, but we can go there and see the stadium. So I think the home field advantage is a little bit less as they go on. And so let's move on. Kansas. So let's look at the schedule. Lindenwood. Okay. I don't even know where Lindenwood is. I'm thinking they're Division 2 because if there's AFCS level, and then I follow the FCS and Montana Grizz. If they are at the FCS level, they're really bad or new. They go to Illinois, and that's on a Thursday. That's fine. Then they go to Illinois. It's like, okay, We're going to do some stuff on Illinois. But, you know, they're not perennially great. But it's Kansas. Just because they won 9 games last year doesn't mean they're just going to automatically reload like this. Quarterback has to stay healthy. Hasn't proven he could stay healthy the whole year. UNLV, not as easy as it sounds, even though it's at Children's Park. At West Virginia, team lined at 6. TCU, again at Arrowhead, don't like it. Don't like playing middling teams there. I actually think those teams might get up even more when you're playing at home, playing in a pro park. Then they go to Arizona State, who's not good. Then they're off, and then Houston, and then so they got at Arizona State and Houston. They're in the blah part of their schedule. Houston in Arrowhead could be a look ahead spot, and I don't trust teams that are not perennially 10-win teams, 8-win teams, when they have a look ahead spot like that. I mean, Kansas State is the all everything at Kansas State, which I don't think they will be very good in, and that's game 8. How beat up will Daniels be? That's going to be a key. If you think there's just a possibility of an injury, I can't take it over. You can talk me onto an under. I mean, it's big juice, but can you go under 8? And then you start getting with the under 8 part. And then you're like, okay, if I think they're going to lose at least 4, and then there's a possibility of injuries, then maybe you want to. Iowa State at Arrowhead, not going to be easy. At BYU, I don't like going to BYU. Now, will BYU be bad and beaten up? Maybe by then. Colorado comes into Arrowhead. You're going to have to score points against Colorado. And then at Baylor. So, Kansas at 8.5, I see why it's used to under. If you do like the over, you can find an 8 or a 7.5 out there. I am absolutely sure about it. So, do some shopping. All right, Iowa State. We put these guys. I was like done with the Big 12. I'm not a big fan of the Big 12. I put Iowa State in there because of the Kansas State thing, and it reminded me. I do like their coach Campbell. I like him. 9 years. He's got a winning culture there. So I do like that. Now they're minus 115 either way. Over 7.5 wins. Under 7.5 wins. We'll see how that all plays out. But they do have a good coach. They have their quarterback was freshman of the year, and it's like when I read up on him, it's like he broke these records, and they're freshman records. So I'm like, I mean, how many of these Iowa State people are playing as freshmen? So it's good stats. You might have a building block at quarterback. It's his second year, so probably just get better because he's under good coaching. They have 8 returning offensive starters. It's still, this team is made on defense. And when you have not, and starters returning don't always matter. At least, I think they do in a positive way, but I don't look into it as a negative way because of all the transfer portal stuff. So when they have 4 returning starters, I'm like, yeah, but they got 95 portals in. So 9 defensive starters returning from a defense that was good. And to say the least, let's just put it this way. They're deep at safety. Okay? Yeah, I mean, that's all you need to say about Iowa State. They're going to be on the D. They got 8 offensive returning starters. If they can pick up on offense, this could be a decent team that challenges for something. So let's look at their schedule. North Dakota. Now, North Dakota, are they back in? Yeah, I think they're back in the Missouri Valley. This is a team that an FCS perennial team that never goes to the playoffs. They go once in a while. Oh, I'm trying to think if they went last year, but they're a team that loses in the first round if they do go. So they're not like a power that Iowa State should have to worry about. This is not North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Montana. So North Dakota, looks like a good one at Iowa. Again, is it going to be first team to 9? I have to look more into Iowa because it's like, are they still going to be the exact same? But it's a rivalry game, so, let's see what happens. Then they're off. Then they got Arkansas State at Houston. So you do have a chance, even going at Houston, You have a chance of being 4-0 before Baylor. You have a chance of being 5-0. The thing is, when I look at this, like you have a chance to be 5-0, you also have a chance to be 3-2. That's why it's hard to come up with an over/under. Uh, then they go to West Virginia. I mean, that's a pick'em game. UCF. A lot of these teams are the same. So saying they're going to lose 5 times is kind of tough. If I think they're good, if I think their quarterback's going to come through, because they do have the defense. Then they're off, and then they got Texas Tech, and then at Kansas again, at Arrowhead. I think we should watch Kansas, because I think Kansas at Arrowhead will not have the same home field advantage. I know we're not used to seeing Kansas winning. They have the last couple of years, but so we see them at Kansas and be like, oh, they don't have a home field anyway. I would rather have the home field on campus than in a big stadium like Arrowhead. I don't think it's going to be a big advantage. I think it's going to hurt them in the long run and could help Iowa State right there. I think they'll come home, beat Cincinnati. But here's the deal. Here's the deal with the Cincinnati game. So they go to Arrowhead and play in a football NFL stadium. Awesome. Now we come home to play Cincy, a nothing team. Oh, what do we have on deck? At Utah, number 9. At Kansas State, number 17 right now. So you got 3 ranked teams wrapped around Cincinnati. Even though the game's at home, again, it's a possible sandwich spot. And when it's a sandwich for a team like Iowa State, they can lose. They'll be like, oh, they were 12-point favorites and lost. And what happened to Iowa State? They were in a sandwich and the mentality of it all. So, do I think they'll win 8? I think it's a toss-up. That's why I don't have a bet on that one. I don't have a bet on any of them, but I just want to preview these teams, get my mind around what I've been thinking. And you know what? August could roll around, and I could be like, Colorado's really good. But I don't think so. But that's the thing. You can change your mind. It's like you're taking this. This is the fun time. This is the time when you got to get prepared. Who's going to score? Maybe you're finding over/under teams. And you're looking at, you have this stuff written down. Boom. Put it to the side and go, okay. When you see 75 point spreads come out, you go, okay, I understand what Kansas State is and is trying to do. And let's look at the rest of the Big 12. TCU under 7.5 is -150. I think that's interesting. Oklahoma State. See, these 7.5s are not created equal. Oklahoma State over 7.5 -160. West Virginia over 6.5 -140. So they're a 7-win team according to Bet Online. Baylor -130 at over 5.5. So if they get to 6, they can get to 7. Cincinnati exactly the same, over 5.5 -130. Arizona State 4.5 under 4.5. Arizona State -160. Get that out of the way. BYU under 4.5 is a pick'em. So there's like 5 wins they expect from BYU, 4 to 5 wins. And so every time these favorites where you think they're going to go over 7.5, over 8, they're not all going to beat BYU, especially on the road. Houston is expected way down, but are they only going to win 3? Look at the talent level. Colorado 5.5, over 5.5 -135. So they are expected to get 6 wins. Now, if they don't go bowling, I think that's a hugely disappointing season for Colorado. The chance of them overachieving, even though what I've talked about with Colorado, let's get back to Colorado. I think if you see that the coaching around Deion, the people he has hired, are not making mistakes, I think they could get to the 6-7 win mark. Even though I was saying, where's their wins coming from? Because they'll figure out a way to win some of these even games. But it's funny when you put Colorado at the schedule, I look at it as a tough schedule, and if you put Georgia's name at the schedule, it looks like an easy schedule. It's kind of funny how when you look at a schedule, it's always determined by the actual team that's playing it, determining it whether it's hard or not. Georgia, oh, their schedule isn't so bad. And it's like, yeah, take Georgia's schedule and put Syracuse's name up there, and they'll be like, it's a gauntlet every week. So it's just kind of how the mental game that we play with it all. But we're going to do the SEC next tonight or tomorrow. Definitely be out by the 27th. Hopefully, get it tonight. I love doing these things. Maybe we'll throw a little baseball angle somewhere with baseball. Okay, since March Madness ended through till now, we're 8-1. I don't sell picks, but during the baseball season, we really ratcheted it down. We used to do baseball every day. It's not my passion like football is, so I decided to show you, as you can see on my YouTube channel with the link below or here, just subscribe. Angles that I like to look for in the MLB, and I can do a quick look and go, okay, I don't like anything. So I don't bet day to day in the MLB. I think it's more productive. It's been more productive for me to get ready for the football season and dominate that than try to go every day with baseball, which I don't love. Once it becomes I have to do that, then it's not. But we have angles and direction that we're looking for in baseball. So, all right, this is a Big 12 football video, though. Next up will be the SEC with our dogs. Mississippi in the top 10. Is Mississippi worthy of being number 6 in the ESPN's preseason top 25? We'll take a look at all that. We might end up with every team, even Vandy, being looked at in the SEC. I don't know yet, but there's a lot of intrigue. You got Alabama with Milroe, with a new coach, LSU, Tennessee, the Auburns of the world, everyone but Mississippi State, I guess. But okay, we'll see you in the next video. Check us out at sportsatballs.com. We're going to be changing our site and doing a lot with the site. I really recommend you guys, subscribe here at YouTube, pass it along, and we love doing these movie long videos. And we'll see you in the next video. And let's make money.